These are the secrets to having a cleaning business that will never fail. So the cleaning industry is a great one to be involved with, typically low cost, and particularly when you compare it with other industries such as software or the product businesses, it is relatively low cost to run a business in this industry. So in this video, I want to take you through the 5 key steps you need to go through to make sure and to give yourself the greatest chance of succeeding in this business. So first of all, we want to minimize our fixed costs. So whether you're running a business in the cleaning industry or any other industry, there are broadly 2 main costs that you incur as the business owner. So you have the fixed costs on one side and the variable costs on the other side. So your fixed costs will be those costs that you have to pay every month or every week, regardless of how much stuff that you produce or how much you sell. Typically, these will be things like your software subscriptions, any insurance you have, maybe your website hosting. All those types of things are independent of how much product or service that you sell. On the other side, you have the variable costs. So the variable costs are much more closely correlated with the amount that you're producing or the amount that you're selling. So when I talk about minimizing fixed costs, it's this first bucket. It's trying to look at the business, trying to keep it as lean as possible. And if you can minimize your fixed costs, if you can minimize that you're paying for, say, your office, or making sure you're not wasting any money on unused software subscriptions or those types of things, your fixed costs will come down. And the reason why this is a really important point when we're thinking about how do we set our businesses up to succeed is that if you have a higher fixed cost, that means that you have to sell more product or sell more of your services to cover those fixed costs, and then to make enough at the end of the day for you to generate a profit and to pay yourself as the business owner. So point 1 is that we need to minimize our fixed costs. And this is where the remote cleaning model is such an interesting one, because many of the old school cleaning businesses that you may have come across, those that maybe say 20, 30, 40, even 50 years old, would typically have a local office where they would have office managers, they would have cleaners coming into the office, and they would have a physical location. So obviously those offices would have, likely to have some leasing costs or some monthly rental. Many of those older school businesses will have, fleets of vehicles with their cleaners, traveling from client to client. So with both of these costs, these will massively inflate your fixed costs. So in the remote cleaning model, and the model that I think is particularly interesting, and the one that I suggest all new startups use, is a remote model where you do not need a local office. And by doing that, you don't have to spend the monthly fees on office rental. And again, I advise that you don't use your own vehicles in the business. You want to be hiring cleaners that have their own vehicles and they can go from property to property using their own vehicles. You obviously pay them a higher rate of pay to cover the use of those vehicles, but importantly, the additional amount that you will end up having to pay your cleaners will be far less than if you had to, maintain and lease vehicles in your own business. Point 2 is then we need to be disciplined on pricing. If we have a business where we're not pricing our services high enough and we're not making enough profit, this massively increases the risks of our business failing, because we need to make sure that there's a big enough difference between the price that we charge our clients and then our labor cost. This is the cost, the amount of money that we pay to our labor, because we need to make sure that within that gap, something called the gross profit margin, we need to be paying out for our virtual assistants, we need to be paying and covering our fixed costs. And if that gap is too narrow, it just means that we are really, really squeezed. There's likely to be very little profit to reinvest and grow the business. There's going to be very little profit to pay ourselves as the business owners. So we need to be disciplined on pricing. And this is something I talk about widely on my other videos. And the rule of thumb that I suggest is that you want to charge your clients twice the amount that it costs to pay your labor to do that cleaning job. So as an example, let's say we have 5-hour cleaning and we are paying our cleaners $20 an hour. So to send our cleaners to do that 5-hour clean, we would pay them 5 times 20, $100. So when we are thinking about the rule of thumb of charging twice that amount, that means that if we're paying our cleaners $100 to do these cleanings, we need to be charging our clients $200. So twice the amount. And that would give us, 200 minus 100, that would give us $100 in gross profit margin. And this percentage approach can work really, really well, because whether you're doing $10,000 a month or $100,000 a month, if you use the same labor cost strategy, it means that you are consistently making profit and being profitable on each and every single cleaning. And that is really imperative, because I find, and I come across it so often, that you may be a business owner and you're doing pretty large revenue, maybe you're doing 20, 30k a month, but if your pricing is completely off, you could well be earning very little profit at the end of the day. And you absolutely don't want to do that, because if your profit margins are so tight, what that means is that there's very, very little wriggle room. Let's say you had a very low profit margin, but one particular month, say, the laptop that you use every day, say it stopped working, you need to go and spend a few $1,000s on a new laptop. Or maybe you wanted to have your website built and you got a quote for $5,000. If you do not have enough profit margin, you can't make those purchases. And that is why the pricing is so important, because if you're rather than paying 50% of your revenue to your cleaners, it's 70%, it means you only have a 30% gross margin. And when we have these very, very narrow profit margin cases, it just means that the chance of failure in our business is going to be a lot higher. We want to have a nice buffer, a nice profit margin, so we can pay ourselves well, but we can also incorporate any unexpected bumps along the way. And this is really how we minimize the chances of our business failing. Point 3 is then to focus on recurring client jobs rather than one-off jobs. So as I talk about extensively on my channel, I believe that the very best way to scale a business in this industry is by focusing on recurring clients. So these are the clients that are paying you maybe every week or every 2 weeks or every month. These are the best clients to have, primarily because the client management part is a lot smaller when you compare it to one-off jobs. So let's say you had a weekly residential cleaning client, you're going in there for 3 hours every week. The reality is after the first few cleanings, if the client is happy and if the cleaner that you're sending is happy, you basically just need to keep, as you've been doing at the very start. There's likely to be very, very few bumps along the way. Maybe there's some additional requests or things like that, or maybe the client wants to change the schedule slightly. But when you compare that to, say, a Airbnb property owner who has properties all over town, and they've got people coming to stay at the properties and different days every week, it makes the scheduling more time intensive. You also will find that, whereas certain people who are using the Airbnb, some of them might be very clean and tidy, you might get the odd disaster where someone's decided to have some sort of weekend house party, and you turn up, or your cleaners turn up, and it's an absolute disaster. It's going to take far longer to clean. There's damage in the property. So you can see when there are one-off jobs, and when I talk about one-off jobs, these are jobs that change in the schedule. They're not the same time every week or every 2 weeks, and where the person that is being cleaned after is changing. This is when we have a high scope, a high potential for much more painful client management effectively. So every single job is going to be different. Every single job, there's likely to be potential for bigger problems. It's hard to manage. And when you are scaling a business in this industry, as I talk about, you really want to try to get to the position where, as the business owner, you're working on the business rather than in the business. You want to have office managers running the day-to-day business operations for you. And if there's a lot more things going on, if there's a lot more potential for things to go wrong, what that means is that, rather than maybe having one VA running your business, maybe you need to have two at the same time, or maybe you still keep with one, but you need to increase their hours. Obviously, your virtual assistant or your office manager is an example of a fixed cost, as I talked about at the very start. So if you're having to pay more money out in your fixed costs, not only does that mean that there's less money at the end of the day for you as the business owner, but if your fixed costs are increasing, it just increases the chances that, your business isn't going to make it isn't going to succeed. Focus on recurring jobs rather than one-offs, primarily because client management will be that much more simpler. Point 4 is then you want to minimize any cash flow risks in your business. So this is jumping a bit more deeply into your financial statements, your profit and loss, and your cash flow. And as a very simple example, the residential cleaning industry is a very good industry for cash flow because you send your cleaners in, say tomorrow, you're likely to get paid either the same day or the day after, depending on how you set up your payments. So the cash flow, the time from when the job is done to actually getting the cash into your account as a business is pretty tight, it's pretty good. And if you're paying your cleaners, say at the end of the week, in actual fact, you will get your monies received from the client before you have to pay out for your cleaners who had done that work. So actually it's a positive cash flow setup. However, if we compare that with another type of client, let's say the commercial clients, let's say someone has an office in town and their payment terms for all their suppliers are 30 days or even 60 days after service. So you could do a cleaning for a client, for example, say tomorrow, but you may not get paid until the end of next month. So, you will be likely paying your cleaners before you have received that money from the client. So this is not a particularly large issue when the business is quite small. You can probably cover some money at the beginning, but as the business scales, your cash flow position will get worse and worse with time because, you're getting a growing number of commercial clients, a growing amount of money that is owed by the client, and a growing amount of money that you need to pay your cleaners before you get paid by your client. So cash is king. We talk about it all the time. You could have a very profitable business in terms of your profit and loss, your revenue. Maybe these commercial jobs are making you a really nice profit margin. You're pricing well, the amount that you're paying your cleaners, your gross margin is good. But if that doesn't materialize in terms of cash coming into your account, ultimately cash flow crunch, lack of cash flow is going to be what kills your business. Your business cannot operate without cash, no matter how profitable those jobs might be. So point 5 is that once you are profitable, then we need to scale the business, because if you're making let's say a 15% profit margin at $10,000 a month, you're making $1,500, which is great in terms of profit margin, but it's probably not going to be enough for you to completely rely on for your day-to-day living costs. So we need to grow the business. Once we have a profitable model, we need to grow the business because we know that $1,500 isn't enough for us to live on and make a nice living from a business. But if we can get to $100,000 and $100,000 a month making $15,000 a month in profit, that is much more interesting. So once we have a profitable model, we then need to grow. And really, the way that you grow a cleaning business is that you've got your marketing on one side, you've got your recruitment on the other side. 9 times out of 10, when I find or when people get in touch with me saying that they don't know why their business isn't growing, 9 times out of 10 it is because of a marketing problem. And the way to approach this is in a percentage approach. So when we are growing our business, we need to make sure that as our revenue is growing with time, we are continuing to increase our marketing spend with time as well. And this is the key reason why people's growth plateaus out or people can't grow beyond certain levels. And that is because, let's say someone is spending $2,000 a month on marketing and they're doing $10,000 a month, and that takes them from 10,000 to 20,000 pretty well. They're growing every month. They're seeing nice growth. But if at $20,000 a month, they're not increasing their marketing spend, what they will likely see is that their growth rates are starting to tail off. The primary reason for this is because when you have recurring clients in your business, you will get a percentage of those clients churning off, canceling for whatever reason. This is completely normal. They can churn off for a variety of reasons. Maybe they're moving out of town, maybe there's budgetary issues, maybe there's quality issues. Obviously, we want to try to minimize the quality issues as much as possible. There's not a huge amount we can do from people moving out of town or if there's a budget issue. But, as you can imagine, if say we have a 5% churn rate on 100 recurring clients, that means that we would expect 5 of our clients to leave every month. But if we had 500 recurring clients and the same churn rate, 25 clients would be leaving each month. So you can see that if we want our business to grow month on month, we need to replace those clients that are going to leave and add on additional ones to get that growth. So at 100 clients where we're losing 5 clients a month, we just need to find we need to make sure our marketing can get at least 5 to get to break even at the last month, and then anything in addition that goes to growth. So if we acquire 10 recurring clients, 5 will go to those that replace them. We get a net additional 5, and that helps with our growth. However, if we have 500 clients and 25 clients are leaving every month, but we're only adding 10 clients or even 20 clients, that is not enough to get to our break-even level. You can see that as our revenue is bigger, we need to put more money into our marketing, increase our ad budget, try more marketing channels because we need more clients, to replace those that are going to leave and then have enough left over to continue to grow the business. So as I said, this is a key mistake that I see many people make, is that they don't increase their revenue, increase their marketing spend as the business grows. And a very simple way to do this is to set your marketing spend each month as a percentage of your overall revenue. And a good number to start would be say 10%, but you can spend between 10 and 20% of your revenue each month on marketing, depending on how quickly you want to grow and how much available funds you have. But let's say, to make the maths really simple, we said 10% each month. So at $10,000, 10% of 10,000 is $1,000. So this month we'll spend $1,000 a month. Let's say in 6 months' time, we're at $20,000 a month. If we're still using that 10% of revenue as our marketing spend number, 10% at $20,000 a month means that we now need to spend $2,000 a month. So we increase our marketing spend, and what you'll find is that additional marketing spend helps to continue to push our company up and keep it growing. So make sure that you increase your marketing spend as the business grows. Your business will scale, and then if you're getting the same profit margin as the business grows, ultimately this means that you have more profit, and that means that you maximize your chances of succeeding in this business. I believe that the best way to run marketing in your cleaning company is by focusing on Google marketing. It's a combination of Google ads, Google local service ads, and Google SEO. Ultimately, if you're a client and looking to book in a cleaning service, you're going to Google to do it. You're not on TikTok, you're not on Facebook. You go to Google as your first point of call. So in this next video, I'm going to give you an introduction to Google marketing, something I call the Google domination strategy. And this will form a key part, or should form the main part of your marketing. As I said, if you get this nailed down, your company will keep growing and your profit from the business will continue to increase with time. So I'll see you on the next one.